1970s game show around 1978, I was home on a snow day in Kentucky. I was around 8 years old. We didn't have cable TV. Just your typical 5 channels air antenna TV. I was watching a game show. I honestly don't remember which one. I remember it was 2 contestants. One of the contestants was like a humanoid. I honestly don't know what he was. He walked out and just completely froze. He didn't talk, no response to questions, no blinking. It was a male and he looked so much like a mannequin. The host kept yelling at him and he didn't move, he didn't blink or respond at all. It was so strange, I'll never forget it. I was frightened by it. I have brought it up over the years. My daughter suggested bringing it up on Reddit. Has anyone else witnessed a humanoid or weird mannequin-like human on television? Am I being hunted? Update 2. House was investigated in total at least 4 spirits, one being a little girl. House was cleansed. Update, so my friend came with some equipment and we did get a lot of readings and some words from the soundbox. The paranormal team will be here tomorrow with cameras and more equipment. So tonight I had an event happen which involved an electronic get unplugged, coil wrapped up, and the device dumped in water. My husband claims the house is haunted and I just shrug it off that I don't feel anything here. Tonight changed my mind. I told my mom about it. She claims I am the one that's haunted, it's attached to me. She stated that every house we have lived in I've aimed to be haunted. As far back as I remember I have always experienced paranormal activity. Is it possible that something has been attached to me for 25 years? Asheville, North Carolina. The Mannequin Man quick story. And hashtag X200B. A couple of months ago my ex was driving down the road in Fairview, North Carolina. It was dusk and the sun was setting that beautiful warm red that it does in these parts. Something related to intuition kicked in and she looked toward the highway barrier on the opposite side of the road. What she witnessed was a faceless, pale, mannequin-type entity hunched over the barrier. It had no discernible face but did have arms, a torso, and legs. Pretty freaked out, she continued on and picked me up from work. When we drove back through, about 15 minutes later, the entity was gone. This isn't an area where people would set up pranks, let alone set up a prank and remove it in less than 20 minutes. Whatever she saw, it freaked her out pretty good. Attacked through somebody else's sleep paralysis. My BF at this time had episodes of sleep paralysis often. This time we were both asleep. I woke up screaming in pain which jolted him awake from an episode. It felt like my legs were being crushed, like the worst leg cramps imaginable. As it started to subside I looked at him, wide-eyed and terrified. He told me he was just having sleep paralysis and a demon had come up to the bed and said you won't be able to protect her for much longer, and then it reached out and stuck its claws into my thighs, and that was the moment I woke up screaming in pain. These things have happened to me since I was 2 years old and I still cannot figure out why. Backpack in the crater. Not as creepy as some other stories, in my opinion, but was asked to share here. One day as a kid I was exploring the forests near our house with my cousin. The forest was on a hill, but there were several craters there because of bombs that were dropped there during the World Wars, Germany. One day we saw a backpack at the bottom of one. We tried to climb down, but it was kinda steep and slippery, so we didn't want to risk falling. We planned on returning later with a rope and went home. The next day news story was that there was a backpack found with the remains of a girl in that forest. A guy walking his dog found it, after the dog wouldn't stop barking and going crazy at the edge of the crater, while staring at the backpack. We stopped exploring the forests after. Big creepy man. This creeped my and my friend out big time. This occurred when it was late, almost pitch black out and it was -30°C, so very cold. We were taking back roads to get to a party and about 40 minutes away in the middle of absolute nowhere a big creepy guy wearing really scrappy clothes was standing at the edge of some forest at the tree line, about 10 meters away from the road. There were no other buildings or vehicles or anything at all around, so I have no idea why this man would have been standing there at this time. This man was scary as F***ck looking and turned his head watching us the whole time we drove by him, and me and my friend were both freaking out a little cause there was absolutely no reason for him to be out there. Bright flash and humming happened a few minutes ago. Bright flash occurring about 1/3 mile away. I'm pretty colorblind, but it was very white/blue I think. Got brighter for maybe half a second, then faded. Saw 3 flashes, first 2 a few seconds apart, third flash about a minute after. Took up between 5 to 10 degrees of my view for size reference. Was not exceedingly bright to the point of being unable to look, but about 10 times brighter by visual estimate compared to car lights at the same distance. Each time was followed by fairly low humming lasting a few seconds. Occurred in residential area. No lights on in their street now, but it's also really late so I don't know if there were any lights on before the incident. Guessing it's some electrical short in overhead power lines. We'll check out TMRW. Creepy encounter as a kid. I'm not sure if this is the right forum, but when I was 11 I went to a teacher-parent morning tea. It's where the parents and teachers interact with the kids to help develop their social skills. Anyway, I saw some of my friends leaving to play some sport and I asked Mom whether I could leave as well. She said yes and I ran down to the sports room to grab some equipment. My other 2 friends had run off with the equipment and I was following. One of the parents stopped me at the door and pulled me in and kissed me on the lips for about 2 seconds. After that I ran off to play sport with my friends. As I said, not sure it's the right forum, but it's something that I have always remembered. Creepy man tried to lure us into his house. My mom is from Canada and my family would visit her small rural hometown every summer growing up. It was the type of place where everyone knew each other and were loosely related. One day my sister and I were going for a walk, and a man who we'd never seen before biked up to us and asked if we were sisters. He told us that he knew our aunt, which he could have easily made up, and that he lived down the street from her. Then he asked us to come over to his house. We declined and went home and told our parents. A few weeks later, his mugshot was on the front page of the newspaper because he kidnapped and our asterisk pet a 5-year-old girl. So creepy. Dear, the year was 2017. My ex and I had started making our way home after visiting my parents for dinner. They live rather high up a mountainside. The roads are windy, there are no streetlights. It was just another typical rainy evening. As I sat in the passenger seat, suddenly my brain said dear. My inner dialogue questioned that. The command got stronger, while I silently argued with myself before I couldn't hold it in any longer and yelled, slow down the deer. My ex started to hit the brake as we came around a sharp corner, and sure enough there was the deer. We stopped just in time. My ex still doesn't understand how I knew, and neither do I. Intuition, I guess. Discussion: have you read any backwoods creepy books? Sorry to the mods if you have to remove this post, I hope it's alright. Just wondering if any of y'all have come across any good books that follow the theme of this sub? I've actually read this whole sub all the way back to the beginning and I want so much more. Stuff like creepypasta and NoSleep doesn't really do it for me because I've got to sift through all the mundane to get to the good stuff. I feel like I've watched all the good horror movies, so I'm trying to get into reading, but it's really difficult because I have the attention span of a small child and I just want a good, gripping, backwoods horror novel to sink into. Please and thank you. Evergreen Tree. Dog. When I was 10, I went to Ecuador with my family for vacation. While we were there one day after dinner, I was heading upstairs to go to our room, but when I got to the top of the stairs there was a dog. The dog was big and tan, but its eyes were scary, like human eyes. I thought the dog was gonna bark at me or bite me, but it just stared at me. I was so scared, so I ran down and told my aunt that there was a dog, but she said that all the doors were closed and locked and there was no way for a dog to come in. She told me to cross myself, and we went upstairs. We looked for the dog and it wasn't there and we never saw it again. Don't walk alone at night. I was laying in bed at night. My mom took my phone so I couldn't use that, so I decided I would take a walk. I stepped outside when all of a sudden I felt a cold chill. 5 minutes into my walk I noticed someone pretty far behind me. I didn't think much of it and just kept walking. He was getting closer. I started to walk faster and faster. I turned around and no one was there. I looked in front of me and he was 10 feet away. I heard him murmur something. I said, "Why are you following me?" He stepped closer and I could see who it was. He said to me, "Hi, I'm John Quinones from What Would You Do? Evil Pets." For a while I was intrigued by this humanoid encounter, describing reptilian beings appear in a reflection in a TV, as it was just so creepy and weird, unlike anything else I had heard of. In the comments some Redditors had told of a similar story they had heard of involving pet-like beings. The original testimony none of them could find, but I have found it on this forum here in case anyone here has been looking for it or is intrigued to read it. It's one of the creepiest and weirdest damn encounters I've ever heard of, especially with the fact we tend to think of pets as being friendly funny puppets and nothing sinicider. Does anyone know of any other similar accounts to this? Thanks! https://www.unexplainedmysteries.com/forum/topic/52847evilm*pets/ https://www.unexplained-mysteries.com/forum/topic/52847-evil-m*pets. Excellent blog regarding real-life SAR experiences and much more in the California backcountry. Hey guys, not sure if this post is allowed as this isn't a story or personal experience. But I found a really great blog that scratched a certain itch this sub gave me surrounding mystery in the backcountry. The guy who runs it's called Tom Mahood, and he has been involved in a lot of SAR stuff, including some really interesting searches for, amongst other things, the missing Germans in Death Valley and Billy Wasco and Joshua Tree NP. Anyway, his writing style is excellent and I've really got lost in his blog over the last few days. Here's the link. Tom Mahood blog, https://www.otherhand.org. Edit, just found in some alternative thoughts on the Billy Wasco case from a man called Adam Marsland, spent lots of time searching for Bill with Tom Mahood, but has come to different conclusions, including the possibility of foul play. Adam Marsland blog, https://ijustdisappear.com/wp/2018/05/22/unsolved-mysteries.